So, thank y'all for coming. So, my name's Rebecca, Niagara College student here. We're going to be talking about goal setting today. We're at the end of the year, so it's always good to have some new goals coming into the new year to kind of focus your attention and set yourself up for success come January. So, today we're going to be talking about why setting goals is good for us to do, kind of the goal setting theory and where this kind of came from. And then we're going to go into how we can set some good goals that'll help us achieve what we want to do better. So we'll go through the SMART model, and then how to monitor our progress towards setting our goals. So what is goal setting? So the purposeful and explicit process that starts with identifying a new target, skill, or project that we want to achieve. So why should we set goals? So goals help us provide us with a focus in life. If we want to change something, change our behavior, set these goals and we can focus on it better. It'll help us suffer less from anxiety and some stress. It can help boost our confidence because it's always nice when we set out to achieve a goal, we achieve it. It's a boost in our confidence. It'll help us perform better and have just greater satisfaction in life. So, originally where the goal setting theory came from, Edwin Locke in 1986, he studied goal setting in kind of the work sector, so in like offices, and how setting goals help them perform better in their like quarterly reviews. But this theory can be set into any type of behavior change theory, so to help you be like healthier, like financial goals if you want to set. So it can be applied to any portion of your life really. So there's the 5 main principles to set effective goals, which is clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and then task complexity. We'll kind of go through all of them a little bit more. So clarity is pretty simple. You want your goals to be clear and specific. Challenge, so we want our goals to be challenging enough that when we achieve them, we have that satisfaction of achieving them. If goals are not challenging enough for us, it can kind of have a demotivating effect. So in the long term, we could lose focus of our long-term goal if it's something that's too easy for us to achieve. Next is commitment. So it should be something that we support and understand from the beginning. So if we have a goal that's not personally important to us, there's a higher chance that we'll not achieve it, and it'll be like less enjoyable for something that we don't find important. And the last one, feedback. So getting feedback through your goals is will be helpful. So this is more in like the work area, getting feedback from your boss, but you can still get feedback in other areas, so feedback from yourself or feedback from others. And then the last one is task complexity. So this refers to having a big goal and kind of breaking that goal down into smaller parts will be easier to achieve, because if you have a big task, it can be pretty daunting to try to even figure out how you want to approach it. But if you kind of break it down into smaller parts and you hit those smaller goals, then it'll be easier in the long run. So let's start setting some better goals. So before we move on to the SMART model, we all have our clipboards and everything, and online, if you want to open up like a notes app or something, just think about maybe 2 or 3 goals that you want to set in the new year, and then write them down for me, and then we'll kind of go over them after. So if you have any goals, just write them down. I'll give you a few minutes. Could be anything like fitness related, health related. few more minutes. We're all set. So, we can go on to the next slide. So, the SMART model is how a lot of people like to set up their goals. It's kind of taken from that goal setting theory that we saw before and broken down into like an acronym that's more easy to remember. So when we're doing our, when we're setting our goals, we want to kind of follow all of these different things to make them more achievable in the future. So we'll go to specific to start. So a specific goal should clearly outline what's being targeted. So we want to try to answer, like, what do we want to accomplish? Why is it important? Who's involved? And just kind of everything here. So if we think of a specific goal, some people may want to, like, just say, oh, I want to be healthy. Well, what does health look like to you? What specific things could you change in your life to make yourself healthier? So say, I want to exercise. I want to have a healthier diet. So if we want to look at the goals that we have written down, I'll give you a few minutes if you want to make any changes to it to make it more specific towards what you actually want to focus on. So I'll give you a few more minutes to do that. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one. So measurable would be our next kind of factor that we want to have our goals hit. So something that needs to be measured. So it's a good thing to have kind of like a number in your goals to kind of quantify how many you want to see. So if we go back to our example, I want to be healthy. I would like to lose weight. Okay, that's awesome. How much? We put a number to that so you can actually measure your progress towards that goal. Or say, I want to eat healthier. I want to eat more veggies. How many servings of veggies do you want to eat? So by putting a number to it, it gives you a better way to track your progress. So the questions you could be answering: how much, how often. So if you could look at your goals again, I'll give you another few minutes. If you can add a number to it, it should take like a few seconds. If you can add a number to it, it's easier to manage your progress that way. so the next the next question we're going to be answering is achievable. So it's always good to make challenging goals, but we have to make sure that our goals that we make can actually be achieved. So when you think of like any barriers that you might be facing, it just like, is it actually possible in like the real world? So say I want to gain 20 pounds of muscle, you're not going to be able to do that in 4 weeks. So we have to think like realistically about these things. But then also we want it to be challenging enough to foster a sense of accomplishment when we reach it, but then again, not too easy. So you could answer the following: how can I accomplish this goal, and how achievable is it when certain barriers are considered? So I'll give you a few minutes to think about that and add it to your little sheet there. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one, which is realistic/relevant. So I think realistic and the last one, achievable, are kind of the same, so I like relevant more. So choosing goals that are of personal importance to you. So being motivated towards a goal will help you achieve it easier, because motivation is a key factor that drives behavior change. So when we think about motivation though, so motivation, not all motivation is created equally. So motivation exists on a continuum. So on the far side, we have a motivation, which would be not motivated at all, goes into extrinsic motivation, which is you're motivated by outside factors. So like rewards or like punishment or avoiding punishment. And then it goes to intrinsic motivation, which is the highest level of motivation, where your motivation comes from within you because it aligns with your personal values. So if we have an example of an extrinsic motivation, I want to do this race so I win a medal. The medal would be an extrinsic reward, so not the best type of motivation. Whereas intrinsic motivation, I want to run this race because I enjoy running and I'll feel good when I finish it. So we want to have goals that more align with our intrinsic motivators than extrinsic, because you're more likely to actually achieve those things when they align with your personal goals and your personal values. Okay? And the last one, so if a relevant goal should answer these questions. Is this important to me? Does it seem worthwhile? And how will my life benefit if I make this change? So, and the last time, so timely. Every goal should have a end date. So when we have an end date, while we're tracking our progress, we can see, oh, like I'm progressing really well towards this end date, or maybe not so well, so I'll have to kind of change my goals so that they fit within the timeline. So it helps you kind of stay on focus and not lose track of your goals. So with the ones that we have written down, just try to give yourself an end date from when you want to see these achieved. Okay, so the next is a little fun fact. So those that write down their goals are actually 50% more likely achieving them than those that don't. So the people that are here, congratulations, you're 50% more likely to achieve these goals than people that aren't writing down their goals. If you're online and you just kind of have all the thoughts in your head, I would say write them down, because then you'll be 50% more likely to achieve them in the future. So next we're going to go on to the types of goals. So we know how to set good goals. Now we kind of can break this down a little bit further. So 3 types: we have an outcome, performance, and then a progress goal. So our outcome goals are long-term, so like a year plus. This would be an outcome goal, the one main thing that you're trying to achieve. That outcome goal can then be broken down into performance goals. So these are more short-term, so like a few weeks to a few months, what you would like to see achieved. And then even further broken down beyond that is a process goals. So these support your performance goals by like being everyday tasks that you can complete that would help you achieve these goals as well. So we'll kind of go through an example. So we have our outcome goal, the top here, so our long-term, lose 30 pounds in 6 months. So that's our main focus, that's what we want to do. To break down to our short-term, our performance goals. So how can we achieve that our main goal? So lose 10 pounds in 6 weeks. It'll help us kind of track our progress as we're going through. So walk 2 kilometers 2 times per week for the next 4 weeks, and then attend our hardcore sessions 2 times per week for the next 6 weeks. So all of these things, when added up, will help us achieve our long-term goal. And then we break those down into our process goals. So if we want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 weeks, we can track all of our meals for the next week to make sure that we're hitting our calories for the week, not going over. If we want to walk 2 kilometers per week for the next 4 weeks, we can get to bed an hour early, so we can wake up an hour early, so we have that extra hour to get in some exercise. And then if we want to attend our hardcore sessions, in order to do that, we need to pre-book all of our sessions so that we're set up for success in the future. So this is a great worksheet that we actually use a lot in school. So you would write your long-term goal there. This is good because it breaks down any barriers that you may have as well, and kind of plan out how you would overcome those barriers when they arise. So kind of thinking ahead. And then down here we would have our performance goals, so our short-term goals, and then our actions would be those process goals of how we would get to the short-term goals. And then on the back here, our success indicators. So what changes you would like to see that would show that you're progressing towards achieving your goal. So there's a bunch of these like goal setting worksheets online that you can find out and just print out. And like we said, if you write down all your goals, 50% higher chance of achieving it than if you don't. So these goal setting worksheets are a really good place to start. So we have our goals set out now. How are we going to monitor our progress towards our behavior change? So the first thing I kind of want to describe for you is self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is super important when we're talking about behavior change. It's one of the key drivers in many of the behavior change theories that we talk about. So self-efficacy is an individual's belief about their capacity to execute a behavior. So how much we think that we can actually do a behavior. So when we have high self-efficacy, individuals will work harder, we can problem solve better, we'll be less distracted, more persistent, and if barriers do come up, we'll be less likely to give up during those times. So how are we going to enhance our self-efficacy? There's 4 main ways. We'll kind of go over all of them. So the first one, mastery experiences. So we want to successfully perform the behavior. If you successfully perform a behavior, then you're more likely to know that you can do it in the future. So if we want to have these mastery experiences, we want to set some realistic goals, progress gradually over time because we're more likely to keep going with our behavior change if it's slow changes opposed to large changes all at once. Receive proper instruction and demonstration, and for physical activity, use those logs to track your progress. So the next way is through vicarious experiences. So by seeing people that are similar to you engaging in these behaviors will make you believe that you can do it as well if someone is like you doing them. So having an appropriate exercise group leader that you can identify with, watching videos that model the behavior, and reading success stories of individuals that are like you will make you feel more related to those people, and in turn do that behavior as well. Next one is verbal persuasion. So have others tell you that you can successfully engage in the behaviors, and engaging in positive self-talk is a very important thing. When we talk to ourselves negatively, then it puts a bad thought in our head. So if we want to talk to ourselves like we would talk to other people. So, and having those others that support your behavior change, kind of give you those compliments and that feedback, will really help you as well. And then the last one is physiological feedback. So educating yourself on the symptoms associated with the behavior change. So if we're talking about like physical activity, we really want to discuss how that physical activity makes you feel with others, because if it makes you feel good and you tell people that it makes you feel good, you'll be more inclined to engage in that behavior later. And we can use like music and scenery to make that activity more pleasurable, or making it a social situation with other people will make you more inclined to engage in the behavior as well. So when we're thinking about the process of self-modification, there's kind of some different steps that we want to go through. So select your goal and develop a commitment to change. We've all done the goals today, so you're already on your way. So make observations about your target behavior. Before making any changes, we would like to monitor the behavior first, so we kind of set a baseline for it, and then we can see if we're doing it more or less once we start recording the behavior. And then we can plan for the change, readjust plans as we go, and then maintain any of the gains that you see. So why are we going to observe ourselves? So this is in the terms of like writing it down in like a structured diary, which we'll kind of go over in the next slide. But so we're observing ourselves because we don't necessarily remember exactly the behaviors that we're taking it in, because our mind will think one thing, but that's not actually the truth. So we want to write it down so that we're actually matching up our behaviors with what we're thinking we're doing. So we got to pay attention to the small changes that are occurring. So our structured diaries is a record of the target of your change, so the behavior, its antecedents, and its consequences. So antecedents is anything that happens prior to a behavior or something that'll trigger it. So this is kind of like the who, what, where, when, why of behavior. So we write down anything that triggers a behavior, and then of course the behavior itself. It can be either a wanted behavior or an unwanted behavior. So we're trying to substitute the unwanted behaviors with alternatives. And then lastly, the consequences, what happens as a result of the behavior, and we want to try to reinforce the desired ones. Yes. So recording the events that happen around a behavior will show us like patterns in why, showing patterns in why it's happening and what needs to be changed. And that's it. Next. So if you want help with your health and fitness goals next year, you can contact Diana here at Hardcore, email, phone number, and that's it.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good job. It's our favorite time, question period.
Questions?
Any in-house questions before we take our virtual questions? questions about your goals you may have.
Mhm. Yeah, so keep those, so then you have something to start on before the new year.
Any virtual questions, Haley?
Nope.
No? Alrighty then, I think we will wrap it up unless someone writes something in the next 2 seconds. Nope. Great, well, first and foremost, thank you, Rebecca.
Of course.
Great presentation.
Thank you all for coming.
And thank you to all our co-op students here this semester. Your presentations have been really great, really informative, and I'm sure either virtually or in person, we are all grateful for the work and dedication you've done on your presentation. So a round of applause or thumbs up virtually for them. And hopefully we will see y'all next year for our presentations coming up with new co-op students, some professionals as well as some of our hardcore and Heart Niagara staff. And yeah, have a great holidays, everybody.